Okay, welcome to the Steroids podcast. Got some great questions today that I'm excited to answer for you guys. The first question is from Zach. He says, bought and read your book, enjoyed it. I can relate to when you mentioned a lot of guys running long ester tests and being disappointed. Been doing lower dose enanthate cycles for a while and didn't really get the well-being or mental boost I had hoped for. Do you think switching to propionate, testosterone would help with this? Yeah, Zach, I definitely do think that switching to testosterone propionate would get you the effect that you're looking for. The thing with testosterone, and since 500 milligrams testosterone per week is recommended so much on the internet for being a first cycle for beginners, that is so widespread, and that's what most people are doing because it's just conventional wisdom. It's spread around so much on the internet that, you know, if you were new to this and you did something else, you'd be some kind of freak. You know, not really, but, you know, that's what probably people on the internet would think. You were some kind of freak. I wouldn't, though. It's disappointing. It's disappointing because the way that you have always imagined that being on steroids was going to be was that you imagined, you know, I'm going to be going to the gym and every workout I'm going to be getting stronger and my muscles are going to be growing and I'm going to have extra energy and extra high sex drive and extra energy to take care of what I want to do in life and get done what I want to do in life. Targeting behavior, where I go after a target and hunt for my goals. You know, and so if you're not getting that and instead it's like you don't really even notice that you're on anything other than you're more bloated and, you know, slowly over time you get bigger and stronger in the gym. You might be a little more emotional too. But other than that, you don't really get much from 500 milligrams per week of testosterone solo. And since that's what so many people are doing for their first cycles, this is a really common way to feel. And, you know, during my cycle, I started by doing 600 milligrams of testosterone per week. I front loaded it the first week with 1200 milligrams. And then, you know, after about a month, I was like, what the hell is this? I hadn't gained like any strength, you know, or like a little bit, just a little bit though, you know. It had been a month on steroids on 600 milligrams of testosterone per week. And I was not having the experience that I imagined I would. So I was like, man, this fucking sucks. Because, you know, when I made that decision to get on steroids, like, it was not because I wanted to mess around, okay? It's because I had serious goals and I wanted to work towards them now. And so, you know, waiting a month and, you know, being a bit bigger, more bloated and, you know, a little bit stronger, you know, yeah, I broke my natural plateau, right? But that was all it did. And I was pissed because I was just like you, man. I had that vision in my head of like, this is what being on steroids is going to be like. It's going to be like this crazy, powerful experience. And you know what? The majority of guys, the huge majority of guys, are not going to have that experience on 500 milligrams per week of testosterone. I met guys in Thailand. Guys would come over, made friends with a bunch of guys from YouTube. My Dan, the bodybuilder from Thailand YouTube channel. So a bunch of guys came over to Thailand, and some of them would do their first cycle while they're there with me. Because, you know, they'd have access to pharmaceutical grade testosterone from the pharmacy made by Bayer. So they're like, yeah, now's the time. And they would be on 500 milligrams testosterone. They'd have, you know, they had already decided that they're going to do that before they came to Thailand. And, you know, they'd say, you know, yeah, I'm going to do this for like 8 weeks or 10 weeks or something, right? And I'd be like, I'd know what their goals were because they had talked to me. And I'd be like, okay. And I would know that like they were going to be disappointed, and then they would. and they would always start adding stuff in after like 4 weeks, adding like D-ball or like Winstrol or Trenbolone. So that's what I did. You know, after on my first cycle, after 4 weeks, after the first month, when I was saying, you know, I was bigger, a little bit stronger, you know, I had broke my natural plateau and I was a little bit bigger, and also I was more bloated. I was like, man, this sucks. This is not what I was expecting. This is not what I signed up for. And so then I was like, screw this. I'm going to take Tren. And so I got on that Tren acetate, and it took about 3 days, man. I was taking 100 milligrams every other day to start out. And you know what? After about 3 days of that, I started to see what I wanted. So, you know, getting bigger, stronger, you know, the look of my body changing, the look of my physique, the outline or the silhouette of my physique. You know, you can always tell the silhouette of a bodybuilder, because a silhouette of a dude that's juiced up, you know, he's got this look, and I call it a tiered look. T-I-E-R, like tiers, like steps on a ladder or steps on stairs. You know, it starts with this, you know, one level is the traps, and then the next level is the shelf under the traps where the clavicle is, and then you see it go out again when it hits the shape, go out again when it hits the shoulders, and then it goes out again when it hits the triceps, and then it goes out again when it hits the forearms. You know, like it's like a tiers or steps on a staircase. That's what the outline or the silhouette of a bodybuilder looks like. And so within 3 days of starting the Trenbolone, the Tren acetate, you know, those characteristic looks about being a bodybuilder started to appear on my physique. So that was the cosmetic effect of steroids, where it fills your body out in a certain way, in a certain androgenic, masculinizing way, and it fills your muscles out and gives them that characteristic on steroids shape. And a lot of guys, they can't tell what this looks like because they don't know what is natural and what's not. But once you've used the steroids, this becomes very obvious to you. Because you experience this the first time you experience the cosmetic effect of steroids, where you start taking something like Dianabol, or you start taking Superdraw, or you start taking Trenbolone, something that really has a big sledgehammer, wham bam pow, thank you man, thank you ma'am, wham bam pow, thank you ma'am. That kind of a physique, that kind of a change to your physique, that kind of an effect. And it takes like 2 or 3 days. That's most of the strongest orals, and Trenbolone, of course. And you know, when that happens, you see it happen right in front of your eyes. And forever after that, you are able to pick out people who are on steroids and not on steroids, like see fake natty and not fake natty. You're able to see this forevermore after you experience this for the first time. It's like this knowledge of good and evil, bro. This knowledge of good and evil. You take a bite of the forbidden fruit, the Trenbolone, the Dianabol. You take a bite of that forbidden fruit, and all of a sudden, you are bestowed with the knowledge of good and evil. It's pretty crazy. It's going to be interesting. You know, all these guys, they always tell me, you were right. After I took it, I could see like half the guys in my gym were on something. But you just can't tell when you're natural. There's something about being natural where like there's this block because you've been fed lies all your life, and you just don't know the difference. But then when you're natural and you know you're natural, and then you take that strong sledgehammer steroid for the first time, and you see in the first few days that cosmetic effect where you get the outline of a bodybuilder, like overnight. It takes about 3 days, sometimes 4 days, sometimes 5 days. It gives you that knowledge of good and evil. And then, you know, picking out people who are on steroids and who are not on steroids from then on, it's like looking at a blonde and looking at a brunette. You know, it's so easy. So you're going to take a bite of that fruit.